Wednesday. Back, Dan and Abaddon. Going to continue painting him, mostly because I just figured I'd continue. Unfortunately, my schedule has been just crazy lately, and I haven't had a chance to even touch this paintbrush until tonight, since last time I streamed on here 2 weeks ago. So luckily, my water didn't completely evaporate in my water pot. So we'll just jump right in. I feel super out of practice, which is crazy. It's only been 2 weeks, but this summer has been really good for me for painting. So the fact that it's been that long at all is making it a bit different. I'm not used to going that long without painting. Usually it's hardly any time at all. Let's get going with my other setup to see what we're doing. So we left off last time. We base coated Abaddon for about an hour. I think it's just about what it stayed at. And I'll go full screen in there so I can see. Now, why don't I want my chat up? No? Alright, yeah, so we had him just base coated. You might know, if you've watched any of the streams, you might notice that I'm using a different angle here. I'm going to try out something else just to see if it, works any better. Trying to improve, look back at the old streams and everything, and see where we're at, what can work better, what can look better, help people see what's going on. So, going to try Hello Whiterun Guard of Skyrim, says Mr. Cole. So I'm going to guess this is one of my former students, which is cool. Thanks for showing up. So yeah, it looks like I was going to work on some Abaddon Black next, since I still have this out from 2 weeks ago. And we'll just get right to it. We'll get some black on the palette. This pot never stays open and drives me crazy. Where's my little trick I learned forever ago? Take the little tube that protects the brush, to wedge it in to hold the bottle open. For now, we'll get some black on there, and then we will get some water and thin it down a little bit, which I don't usually like to do with Abaddon Black. Surprisingly, as a black and a base coat, it's actually not terribly what do you want to call it? It's not terribly opaque, and it tends to need multiple layers naturally. Instead of, like wanting to do too thin coats, you kind of have to with this paint, depending on what you're painting over, of course. In this case, painting over this Mechanicus Standard Gray, it might not need 2 coats. It might be black enough, but we'll see as we go. It looks like I started a tiny bit last week. We'll see how we do with the stream tonight. It might end up cutting it a little short just because why is this not working? I want to watch the live show. This drives me crazy. Every time I try to watch it on the iPad here while it's going, it won't just watch it live. I don't understand why. Luckily I can see in the chat just fine with the new setup. Alright, so I got this one black already. Oh yeah, so my schedule's been just crazy the last couple of weeks. Last week I worked at the fair, and at the same time, for the first half of the week, I was still doing summer school, so there was still just those days were crazy because it was work from 8. They were doing state testing, so it was like 8 to 2 or 2:30, which doesn't sound that bad at first, but then I had to drive 40 minutes over to the fair and then work there from 3 to 11 was the scheduled time. Some days were later because now we used to have somebody come in at night and tear down the stand. I work at like a burger stand at the county fair, local county fair. This was the 15th year. I've been doing it since I was in college. Just super fun job. Pays under the table in cash, which is really nice as a teacher, this time of year. to get a big envelope full of cash at the end. So it's something I've done forever. It's Broximus. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember who. I've seen you comment on videos and everything, but I don't remember who. I don't remember who Broximus's real name is. If you don't want to say it, that's fine. Thanks for watching and chatting with us. I see you watch and comment on a lot of videos, so thanks for that as well. Let's see. So we're getting this cabling, which is not my favorite type of stuff to do. Oh, but because of this crazy schedule, I got like no sleep. Like I got 4 to 5 hours of sleep each night because I'd go to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning finally, because again it was like a 40-minute drive, and then I have to take a shower because I'd be disgusting, covered in grease and whatnot from cooking burgers, and then finally get to bed, and then every day Felix was up at 6, and I had to get up with him because my wife would go and work at the same stand in the morning. She would work from 7 to 3, which usually works out really well, but just the fact that Felix was not letting me get any sleep. For those of you that don't know, Felix is my just over 1-year-old. So when he's up, I'm up, because he can't just hang out by himself. See, I was averaging like 4.5 hours of sleep per night for the week. And then I had 1 day off from that. Actually, the last day of it was, what do you call it? I just drawing a blank here. The last day was Sunday, and we did teardown, where we tear down the whole stand, take it all apart. And that was that morning. So I got home. We left the fair at like 11:30 at night, and I had to be back at 8 the next morning. We were there until noon, and then I got home at like 1-ish and just kind of collapsed for the rest of the day. I ended up falling asleep, take a 2-hour nap on the couch, which normally I don't really like doing, but it was just, didn't even plan it. I was actually reading a D&D book and fell asleep with it open on my lap. I think I was reading about dragons. Alright, let's finish up this cabling so I can do something else. Not my favorite part of it, but it certainly helps make it look better. But yeah, after that, I had a day off, and then yesterday started a conference for work for some professional development, which of course I decided to do one that's an 1.5-hour drive. So the rest of the family went up to Maine on vacation, missing out on that because I scheduled this thing before I knew about the Maine vacation as a possibility. So now I gotta get up and go drive to this thing, which isn't bad. It'll be super helpful. It's a good time. It's just very tiring. We went on a bunch of hikes today because it's all about the watershed in our area, or near our area. In case you're wondering, I'm talking about the Albany Capital District area. We're looking at the Hudson watershed. This is driving me crazy. If anybody could help me understand how, I just want to watch the video live on a different device while I film it on my phone. I don't understand why that seems to be impossible. It'll only play it. I used to be able to do it on the computer just fine. Is it because I'm on the iPad? Maybe because I'm not signed in. I'm just like as a guest. So instead of keep talking, I'm just going to turn it off because I can see the chat here. In case anybody wants to chat about whatever. Alright, so last time we did the base coat of the blue. Did some red, we did some silver and gold. I think I'm going to take this time now to do another coat of the Wraithbone. Good old, well, not good old, it's pretty much brand new. This Wraithbone base, if we can get open, don't you try to close on me too. All the stuff I did with the Wraithbone last time needs a new coat. Or needs a second coat, I should say. Thin it down just a little bit. Oh, so the whole point I was telling you that story was to say that we'll see if I can make it to 10 o'clock or not. It might be there'll probably be a shorter episode because I'm just really tired. I was talking to my wife earlier before the stream, and she said that she's not surprised at all that I'm tired, that I'm so tired, because I have just a ridiculous sleep debt. You know, obviously I'm not used to getting 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep per night for a week. So, and then we were like hiking today, and we got caught in the rain for a bit, so I got soaked. Which, if anybody's had that experience, that can really wear you out, because your body has to really work to warm itself and everything. You know, they say, you know, it's kind of common knowledge that getting wet out in the rain doesn't get you sick, because water doesn't make you sick, but it does make it easier for you to get sick. Not saying that I'm sick or anything, but I'm just saying it makes it easier for you to get sick because your body is spending so much time in it, or not time, but so much energy on trying to make you warm that it makes it easier for pathogens to make it past your defenses. Alright, let's find all these places I applied this 2 weeks ago, and then we'll do it again. Just so we got a nice even coat of this, and then we can contrast it. Oh, Dom. Hey, Dom. Thanks for supporting us. Really appreciate it. Let's see, we got his face. We'll have to wait to do that. I was gonna get Gilliman's flesh for his face, and like for Deepkin flesh for the Achilleans. When I get around to painting them, they're primed, but I haven't got around to painting them yet. But I keep forgetting to pick it up when I'm at the game store. I just was there earlier. I had bought a monster manual for D&D 5e, and getting back into D&D, which for me is exciting. It's been a long time since I played D&D for real. And then I kind of realized I don't need a monster manual yet. I'm going to be DMing, and I'm going to be running the Horde of the Dragon Queen. I can't remember if I talked about this 2 weeks ago or not. I don't think I had that book yet. I'm going to be running Horde of the Dragon Queen with a few people, and that what's weird, because that book actually came out before the monster manual. So they released an online supplement for it that is essentially a mini monster manual covering everything in that adventure, which I think is super cool. So I was like, I bought it last week, and then with fair money, and I was like, I don't really need this. If this game works well and we continue and we go to the Rise of Tiamat, I'll need it, because that doesn't have an online supplement, because that book came out after the monster manual. So it doesn't have its own like rule set for monsters in the back. So if we do get that far, I'll have to get it for that, and that's fine. So I returned it and just got a DMG instead, a Dungeon Master's Guide, because I didn't have one for 5th edition yet. Alright, where are we at here? What do I want to do next? I think I'm going to touch up the gray, and that way I can basically cover the whole body portion of the model with Nuln Oil, brown, a black wash. That's what I'm talking about. I can't even say my colors right. So I'm going to touch up the gray with Mechanicus Standard gray, same as what he was sprayed with. Just got to make sure that's even. Why'd I put that brush away? I'm still using it. Wow, get your head in the game. Oh, this is pretty dried out. When did that happen? Guess I haven't used it in a while. So the usual, let's get it on the palette. Get a touch of water. Thin it down a little bit. And then we'll find any spots in the gray where it needs to be touched back up. If we got a little blue that went over the edges, or we got some silver in places I see already. And that way, when we get to the next stage of applying the wash, it'll go over a nice clean undercoat, which will bring us to highlights. Good old, what do they call it now? The classic style, I think is how GW refers to it, as in not contrast, where you do base, wash, sometimes more highlights. Which I'm doing a little mix of both on this model. Some things will be done with contrast, of course. Some things will be done the classic style, which I think is what contrast is best for. Just using it as another tool, as opposed to, what do you call it? Like, I don't think you have to do all your models all contrast or no contrast. Like, use it where it looks good. I recently painted an ogre for fantasy. Actually, that video just went up yesterday. That I used him in. That was painted almost exclusively with contrast. There were a few things I just didn't have contrast paints for yet because I only have like 6 or 7 of the range. So, again, it's something that I think is a really, really great tool, but it doesn't necessarily need to replace your entire paint range. That would be crazy. I know I've got dozens of paints that I definitely don't want to just get rid of. These paints ain't cheap, which makes me sad I haven't used them in so long. But you'd think, well, you just said that your family is in another state and you've got this conference. Why aren't you painting? Well, yesterday I got home at like 5:30. I had a bowl of cereal for dinner because I'm that guy, living the bachelor life. And then I watched The Boys on Amazon and looked at some D&D books that I got in the mail because I'm a nerd. And it was a pretty great night. Just kind of chilled. Oh, I missed a bunch of spots of blue over there. That was dumb. Gotta go back and touch that up, I guess. Actually, the gray is looking pretty good. It doesn't look like there's many mistakes. I just found another one as I say that. It looks quite clean. So now we're going to do the same thing with the blue. Gotta retouch up the blue. So we'll clean off the brush. And the blue we used, oh no, it's been 2 weeks. Am I going to remember? I'm pretty sure it was Caldor Sky, because this looks like the same blue to me. I keep thinking Regal Blue because that was the old Citadel color. I violated the law. How so? I don't even know what I just said. Did I say something that was copyrighted? Alright, let's find these places that I missed before. A little bit on this leg. This, what is it called? A greave? Covers your shin area. I believe it's a greave. Otherwise, on this gauntlet, I missed a bunch of raised edges here. So we'll touch that, make sure we get those spots done. How does this look lighter than the other one? Did I not use this color? No, I must have. I don't have another blue like this. Sorry, I'm mumbling to myself while I'm doing a live stream. Alright, almost there, almost there. I feel like my painting style does not really lend itself to this kind of thing, where if you might look at this and be like, dude, that sucks, like, that's not very good. But I feel like I have a style where it looks super boring and bland until it gets to a certain point, and then it's like, boom. Oh, that looks pretty good. I know a lot of other people, I don't know if other people really do that. I've seen other people who will paint to a certain point and they call it good and it looks good. Whereas if I paint to a certain point and call it good, it's just not done. It's just not finished. It's not a completely painted model. So, lately, especially for things for the channel, I've been painting to a standard that I'm calling myself camera ready. Which is really similar to what GW is trying to push now, called, what do they call it, Army Ready or something? Battle Ready. And, which is essentially base coats and I've committed crimes against Skyrim and her people. What do I say in my defense? I played Skyrim. I liked that game. It was a good one. I played an Argonian. just because I thought it was cool to be a lizard person. And then I tried to I played as a Argonian. I can't remember. I don't think that game has like classes or whatever, but I feel that I just kind of wanted to try everything. He wore heavy armor, and he slung spells while wielding like a one-handed blade, like a warrior mage. I don't know what it was called in that. And then I tried going pure melee fighter type guy that was an orc. That was really fun too. I remember smashing a dragon over the head with like a two-handed hammer, and it just felt really good. Maybe someday I'll replay that game. I think Lily, my daughter, would really like that. You play as Parthenax? Is that the dragon? Am I remembering that correctly? Is that a dragon you have to fight? Is that like the final boss or something? I feel like that's the guy you fight on top of a big mountain. When that game come out? 2012? I probably haven't played that game since 2013. So, if I don't remember, forgive me. It's been a while. Played a lot of games in the meantime. That's something else I've missed out on lately. The last couple of weeks, recently was playing Final Fantasy VII for the 18th time on the Switch. My good buddy Tim, special guest Tim, not my brother Timmy, but Tim, we have a family account together on the Switch, so whenever he downloads a game, me and our friend Sarah can as well and play it, just as long as he's not playing on the account at the same time, which is super awesome of him. And that way he justified it that if he buys a game, at least somebody's playing it, because he has a horrible tendency to buy games and then never play it. So that was pretty sweet, but I haven't got to play that since before the fair, which is sad. Let's find another spot that I hadn't done blue. That should have been. I think that's everything for blue. So I think once I'm sure that's dry, while that's dry, I'm going to touch up the red. Well, that's drying, I should say. I'm going to touch up the red. And then I can... The red was corn red, which doesn't need a lot of touch up, but I know there was at least one spot on the hair. I'm going to take this right from the pot just because I'm just touching up a little bit. Spot on his hair that I hit with a Wraithbone in accident. That looks good. Anything over here? Oh yeah, there's a little spot on the back of his hair too. Maybe not. There's a shadow. There it is. I found it. Don't worry. But yeah, I was playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII until the fair, and then that just stopped because during the day, once I was up with Felix, there was no doing anything like that. Casually robbing a bank in GTA while watching sounds like a good use of your time. I like it. That's, it's kind of what gaming videos are about, is to do. You can do it while doing something else. I watch videos or listen to podcasts while I paint, other than when I'm streaming, of course. I can't remember if I mentioned it last time. I'm really into the Glass Cannon podcast. Guys play Pathfinder. Don't say D&D. At least the DM of that game will get upset. Apparently, well, they play Pathfinder exists because D&D 4e was so bad. Which I can't really speak much to. I played one game of it, however long ago it came out when it was brand new. I don't remember it being terrible, but I think if I looked back, it would be pretty bad. So real quick while that's drying, because I think it needs another couple minutes, I'm going to hit all the bone areas that I did Wraithbone in the Contrast Skeleton Horde, because those should be dry by now, I hope. Those guys play Pathfinder, and the DM, Troy LaValle, who is pretty funny. I guess he's normally a stand-up comedian, or comedian, who does some stand-up as well. He hates 4th edition and really doesn't like 5th either, at least at the time that I'm listening to, which was recorded a few years ago. So who knows, maybe he's getting another chance, but they think Pathfinder is like the be-all, end-all, which I feel so torn about, because like Pathfinder really, I don't know, I played it a few times, and it's it's a good game, of course, because it's just D&D 3.5 with a few things, with a few modifications, and then they just expanded on it and expanded on it and expanded on it. So it makes me, I can't decide how I feel about it. Like, it's not even their own game that they made up. They just took another game that another company stopped making and basically just took it over. So, like, I like the changes Pathfinder made, but to say that, like, Pathfinder is this amazing, like, it's not even an original game. It's just 3.5, but it's what a lot of people call it 3.75 of Dungeons and Dragons. Because 3.0 was so broken, they had to release, it says right on the cover, 3.5 edition, because they just they didn't balance it right, and they formatted it poorly. If you look at a D&D player's handbook from 3rd edition compared to 3.5, it's just 3.5 is so much better in every way. The sound is my dog shaking in the background, in case you heard that. Hello, Rocco. But, like, so it makes me really torn about Pathfinder, because, sure, they added a lot to it. They made it their own thing. They made a bunch of really cool classes, like the Gunslinger and the Witch. And I remember one of the times I played, I was an Inquisitor. We played a campaign where we were all evil, so I was an evil Inquisitor, so I had to, like, follow an evil god, and I could imbue my weapon with Bane instead of, like, Blast or something like that, which was really cool. But, like, with 5e out now, I just feel like now that's the better game. You know, like last time I was asking people about ideas of what to do with this Space Marine helmet and the Space Marine on his base, what chapter to make them, and I can't remember. I think it was going to be Salamanders. I don't have a green... I was going to use contrast in that, of course. I don't have a green contrast yet, so that'll have to wait. I probably should have done Wraithbone on this Primaris on his base, so then I could do that with a green contrast as well. But you know what? We'll get to it eventually. There's a lot to do on this model, so it'll happen at some point. All right, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do one more contrast before we do our wash. So we're gonna take that's not what I wanted. That's Gryph-hound orange. I want red. On my little spinny thing, we got contrast Blood Angels red. Focus, thank you. We're gonna do that on his, just a little bit. Come on the grip of Drachnaean, his demon weapon here. I think that's what it's called. Might be getting mixed up with Archaeon. Pretty sure this is Drachnaean. Archaeon from Fantasy. This is pretty much the same thing, just the fantasy version. Used to ride a cool demonic steed that looked like a 6-legged horse called Doragar, but now with Age of Sigmar, he rides a much more powerful 3-headed demon thing that I have no idea what it's called. Maybe it's the same name. So there we go. Red. Bob's your uncle. Alright. Now on to the part that makes the model look a bit more complete. Do a big old wash of Nuln Oil. One of the best paints ever. So we're going to move to a bigger brush. In case you're curious, my go-to is the Army Painter. It's been used so much it's wearing off. Hobby Standard Base Coat Brush is my go-to for most things. Bigger areas, I've got the Army Painter Wargaming Series. Come on, focus. Get a little too close. Monster brush, which obviously has a larger tip. So let's get out that Nuln Oil. It's another one that never stays open. Give it a good shake, because that's what you do with most paints. What you doing, Rocco? He's gonna stand in there. That's weird. He's probably like, why are you home and nobody else is? Hello. Let me turn it for just a second here. If you like dogs, there's my puppy. Hey, Rocco. We'll try not to poke you in the eye. He just wanted to join the stream. Oh, thank you for licking my arm. Probably wants something. He's still licking my arm. Okay, that's enough. It's weird. Camera shy taco, kinda, yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll just do that. Get to it. Let's find a good spot on the palette so we don't have too much on the brush. And pretty much the whole model here, not everything, because the stuff I did with contrast we're not going to do, we're not going to wash anymore. But pretty much everything else is going to get washed with this good old Nuln oil. And that'll give us a bunch of shading, of course, is the whole point of the wash. It'll also darken the whole thing overall. And that way it's not so brightly colored. Especially the blues will get a bit muted, so it won't be so bright and shiny. These guys used to be the Brazen Lords. They're not anymore. If it were the Brazen Lords, they would be nice and bright blue, but that's not them anymore. So they want to darken it because they are followers of chaos now. Which reminds me, the thing I was going to talk about today, but I kept sidetracking myself, is this Sunday from the Die Rolls, and specifically, I am hosting a narrative event at our local game store. Those of you watching this on YouTube, this will have been a week and a half ago from when this video is going to go up. But real time, it'll be August 25th. We're going to be playing through a couple of the Vigilus Ablaze missions. Partly because I think our local meta is getting a little, like, tournament fatigue. Or I think people are tired of playing against tournament lists. So the whole point of this is really to focus on bringing fluffy lists. Right? Lists that tell a story. Lists that fit the story. You know, not every single little skirmish is going to have Gilliman and 2 knights. Well, not in the same army probably, but you know, not every Imperial army is going to have 2 knights with them. One being a Castellan or Castellan. Oops, just realized that wasn't really in frame. So one rule I'm putting into this, which makes some people really happy and others really not happy, is there are no Lords of War allowed. Partly because the first mission is supposed to take place on the bridge of a ship, and it just doesn't make sense for there to be any Lords of War. Like Gilliman wasn't present at Vigilus, or at least he wasn't at first. I don't think he was present at all. And I haven't finished reading the entire story for Vigilus Ablaze. But he certainly wasn't on Marnius Calgar's flagship. The whole point in that point in the story, the Chaos Abaddon's fleet came into this system, and Marnius thought he could head them off at the pass and send out the fleet of the Ultramarines and all the other Space Marines, and they could just stop them in space before they even got to the planet. And Abaddon was like, "Well, I know he's going to do that because it makes sense." So he perfected a new ritual with somebody. Some sorcerer, and they were able to summon Slanesh demons directly onto the bridge of at least Calgar's ship, if not all of them. And that was enough of a distraction. They had to fight all these demons, including greater demons like Keeper of Secrets and whatnot, which is a big deal. They had to, of course they were distracted fighting these right on the bridge that Abaddon's fleet was able to basically just skirt by untouched or minimally damaged. And then they got to the planet before the Space Marines could get back, so they were able to just kind of have at it. Like the planet had its own planetary defenses, good old PDF, Planetary Defense Force. But those were already spread really thin because there was a Orc Wa that was attacking the planet, and then at the same time a Gene Stealer cult infestation made themselves known. So the defenders of the planet were already in really rough shape before Chaos showed up. So, grim dark future. There's always bad stuff happening. So we're going to be playing 2 games The first one will be, I think it's just called On the Bridge, which is supposed to represent the demons attacking on the bridge, but it doesn't have to be demons versus Ultramarines, because that would be, I think we have one guy in our local meta that plays Ultramarines, and Taylor plays demons of Slaanesh, and that's it. So, like, it's just going to be, I'm breaking it down into into major factions. So, do you ever see yourself posting gaming content on this stream? Once in a while. This stream is more for just trying another way to interact with an audience. The gaming is most our every other Tuesday videos. I tried to meet up with Taylor today, but he had stuff going on, so we couldn't. Maybe next time I'll stream from the game store and we'll play a little bit of something. But to me, that's not the purpose of this stream on Wednesdays. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, we're playing 2 games of Vigilus. We're going to be playing On the Bridge, and it's just going to... the 3 factions. Everybody's going to be one of the 3 factions. Either be Chaos, or Imperium, or Xenos, to kind of represent them playing for the Orcs or Genestealer cult. I think Dark Eldar showed up as well, so covers a lot of different armies. But if you're playing something that's not necessarily technically in the story of Vigilus, that's fine. I don't care. It'll count as one of those 3 factions. So, like, if you're playing Blood Angels, which weren't there, you just count as Imperium. Or if you're playing Tyranids, which weren't there other than Genestealer cult, which is its own army, then you just count as Xenos. And the whole point is that we're going to, hopefully, if it's popular, we'll do a series of events, and then we'll kind of tabulate points for each faction to kind of see who wins overall, which faction. So it's not player specific. As far as I know, there's not going to be any prize support, because we're not charging, not unless the store decides to just give prize support in some capacity. It's just, and I think that'll help cut down on people bringing just win at all costs type lists, which I think is a real boon in a lot of ways. People don't like playing against that at local tournaments, because it's just not what most people feel. So when you go up against something that has a whack list, win at all costs, then it's just becomes very one-sided and makes it not as fun for the other one. How many viewers do I average every stream? Not a lot. It's something that we figure if we just keep doing it, it will slowly grow. At this point, we're not really seeing that growth, but that's okay. Like me and Taylor both discussed a few times. If nothing else, we get to interact with a couple people per stream, and we're getting some hobby done. So, whatever. We didn't start from the die rolls to become famous or anything like that. We started it because we wanted to be able to share the hobby with people. Play the game, do some painting, that kind of stuff. So I think since at least Dom here is asking for gaming content, I think next time I do the stream, potentially 2 weeks from now, I'll try to do something at the game store and play some games. Maybe a bunch of people at the store have been wanting to do Warcry. Actually, I popped in today to oops, popped him right off the base. He's not glued on. And I popped in to switch out my monster manual for the Dungeon Master guide. They were saying I should come back and play Warcry with them and stream that. So maybe I'll do that in 2 weeks. Get more gaming content, because that's what we are. We're a gaming channel. Good point, Dominic. Alright, so we got it base coated, we got washed. Actually, I do want to wash his hair real quick. We got a little bit of contrast on there. I'm not washing the claw. I'm going to do that in like a glowing blue. Maybe my next time I do a painting video, I'll do a little tutorial on how I do my like power weapon glow effect. Why are you popping off your base so much all of a sudden? Probably help if you were glued on, but that's kind of the whole point of sub-assemblies, so I can take you off without worrying about breaking glue or anything like that. I happen to think my power weapon glow looks pretty good. Alright, let's clean this brush off. Let me grab a recent example that I had for Loxo. If they can find it real quick. There it is. Easy peasy. So Lox, this will be a little bit of a spoiler, but Loxo is one of the Heralds of Ruin for the campaign, narrative campaign we were doing. This was his power axe. So if you've watched the first one, you'll know Loxo didn't get a new weapon. That must happen in episode 2. So a little bit of a spoiler. Like I said, I think it looks pretty good. This isn't my best example, but I think that's the kind of look I'm going to go for on his claw and on Drachnan. My favorite example, I thought was right here. Where'd it go? I got a drawer of Blood Angels right next to me. I thought I had Librarian Dreadnought in there with his sweet Force Halberd, which is the first time I really tried that scheme, but he doesn't seem to be in that drawer, and I don't know where he is. I got too many boxes of random stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Come here. So I guess I'm not showing you that one. But this is what I'm going to be looking at next time, more or less this kind of idea of the glowy blue. So that'll be a couple weeks from now, because it's going to take me forever to paint Abaddon anyway. But I think at that point we're going to cut it just a little bit short tonight, just like 20-ish minutes short, just because this seems like a good spot for me to stop painting, because that wash is going to need quite a bit of time to dry anyway. Excuse me. And yeah. So I think next week will be Taylor's week. Barring any changes, maybe it'll be when I do stream some Warcry at the store. We'll see how that goes. Just have to remember to bring my arm and make sure my camera or my phone is fully charged. Yeah, so we're gonna leave it there, and we'll rejoin Abaddon in the future at some point. Other than that, every Wednesday at 9, either me or Taylor are going to be here. You can join us if you're watching on YouTube. Check it out. The streams I post on YouTube the following Wednesday. So if you don't have time to watch it at 9, you can watch it on YouTube the next Wednesday, or you can watch previous ones. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything. We don't have any like announcements at this time. We got kind of a downtime right now. End of the summer wrapping up. It's really difficult for us to get together to film. Timmy moving back a couple hours away, unfortunately, for school stuff. So it's going to be more difficult to film with him. So, we'll see what we can do. And that's another reason for this live stream, is to make sure we at least have weekly content, so we have something, right? Talk about audience. We need content to get an audience. So as usual, let us know anything you want to see, anything you don't want to see. If there's something that you feel like we could do better, please let us know that. We always want to improve. Check us out on YouTube, of course. Follow us on Facebook. We got an Instagram. We got a Twitter, but we don't really use that very much. That was kind of Chuck's thing. I know I don't ever access our Twitter, but I do look at the Instagram. I'm going to post a picture of Abaddon in just a minute for our work in progress Wednesday picture. If you'd like to support us financially, we've got a Patreon. I think we have the minimum set at, or we have one setting at like $2 a month. This, just as we say thank you. I think you can do whatever you want but like the only thing that you have to do is $2, which is awesome. Which would be super great. Even that little bit would help us to get new stuff, to help us vary our content and everything like that. So yeah, other than that, if you haven't checked out this week's video, well, at the time of Twitch recording, that was a fantasy game between me and Taylor where I play ogres and he plays night goblins. I was actually watching it earlier, just to see. I always watch our videos to see what we can improve on and whatnot. And then if you're watching this the next week, it'll be a week off. It should be Rune Seekers coming up pretty soon here. Rune Seekers episode 2, which if you haven't watched the first one, go do that. It's awesome. It's super fun. We had a great time with it, and I think people will have a great time watching it as well. So yeah, I know my outros are always super long because I always think of more to say. So I'll say, see you next time. Game on. Where's my end button? I always lose it.